Hello, I'm Lee James, and welcome to another episode of Lessons in Jazz. This one is more for the advanced jazz pianist, and maybe guitarist, and maybe some horn players who want to tune in and check this out. That was Victor Young's Stella by Starlight. Victor Young was a European-trained classical violinist and came over to the States. Was actually in Chicago for a brief time. He had a band. He was doing all kinds of things. He started writing for Silent Pictures. He was doing 5 silent picture soundtracks a week. They weren't really soundtracks. Well, maybe they were. But his reputation as a composer grew, and he eventually started doing movie soundtracks. And by the time the 40s rolled around, he had quite a reputation as a film scorer. And one of the films he scored for was a picture called The Uninvited, 1944, starring Ray Milland. And it's basically a haunted house story. Okay, everyone is frightened by this spirit that haunts the house. They bought this great oceanfront house and paid little money for it, and then once they moved in, they found out it's a haunted house. But the haunting, as it were, not to be too much into the pun here, but the haunting theme of Stella by Starlight was written by Victor Young. And if you watch the movie, it's recycled over and over. It's this beautiful, haunting is the best word I can think of, melody that comes through. And it's really a beautiful song, just on its own. I think lyrics were added to it in 1946 after the movie. And then, of course, a bunch of people recorded it, from Frank Sinatra on down. A lot of instrumentalists made recordings of it with their bands. Harry James comes to mind. And it endures today as one of the top 10 favorite jazz standards. I got to find this list. And it's up there for a lot of reasons. I think it should be on the top 10 list, not so much for favorite, because it is a favorite of most anybody who learns it and plays it, but also because you've got to know how to play Stella. It's one of the things, like Kind of Blue or Monk, some of the Train tunes, Charlie Parker. It's the body of music you have to know. You've got to know if you're going to sit down and play the piano. So what makes this video, let's do that again. What makes this song so haunting and such a jazz standard and an endless source of arrangements and versions and so forth? It's really the way the melody is constructed and the way the chords come across. Now, I'm playing the jazz chords version of this. These may not be the original chords, but this is how I learned the song. And the first chord with the melody is an E minor 7 chord, but the melody is the 11th. Now that in itself, listen to the tension in that. Here's an E minor 7 chord with the flat 5, which always gives it a little darker tone. But now the melody is not the 3rd, flat 5, the 7th. It's this 11th. And then we go to A7, so we got a 2-5 there. The song is largely composed of 2-5s, with it only resolving to 1 occasionally. Let's take a look at that. Here's E minor 7 going to A7 flat. So the flat 5 becomes your flat 9 in A. Another 11th, minor 7th tonality with an 11th. This is not a flat 5, this is a regular C minor 7, but the 11th is the melody. The 11th. F minor 9. Again, we're staying away from the root and the 3rd and the 7th as melody notes. We're using these upper tertian color tones. And there's 13, there's another one. Now we finally get to a 2-5, and it goes to E flat, 2-5-1 and E flat, and again the melody is not a common tone of the lower tertian series, it's a 6th. And then we can go around the circle of fourths, and instead of playing 4 chord as a major 7th chord, we play it as a dominant 7th chord. And then we have this progression starting on B flat. Let's look at that again. The progression starts on the suspended 4th. The suspended 4th, not the 3rd, not the 5th, something like this. No. So how do we play that? There, as it's moving down, it resolves. Now we move by tritone back up to E for 2-5-1 in the minor tonality. 2-5 flat 5, 5 flat 9, and then D, the 1, and this is a minor 11 chord, again with the 11th. Pretty nice. And then we do a little 2-5-1 in here, B flat to E flat. Now we do the same thing that we just did in B flat, we do it in F. Start on the suspended 4th. These are very unusual tones to be forming a melody for. Now we're back to E. This is the third time we've played E 7 flat 5. 2-5. Do we resolve it? No. We change the dominant 5 to a 2 chord, again with the flat 5. And we go to D7 with the flat 9. And then the hairs are finally, this is where the song peaks. All this tension is building, and we finally peak on this G7 chord with the flat 13. Again, an unconventional sounding melody and chord for something that was written in 1944. Now, again, my disclaimer is these are the jazz chords. This is how I learned it. The original music may be a little simpler, fewer 2-5-1s, maybe not so much all these flat 5s being used. But this is how I learned it. So this is the climax of the song. And then there it is, C minor 11. Again, 11 is in the melody. A flat 9 with a sharp 11. Sharp 11 is in the melody. Finally settles in on B flat. And this is B flat major 9, not 7. With the 3rd, the 9th's on top. Back to review the A. But now we're moving around the circle of fourths. E minor, A7, D minor 7, G7, and you can throw a flat 9 in there. Finally C, and that's with the flat 5 again. Flat 9, before it finally resolves back to B flat. So our song is in B flat, something I spoke about in a previous episode. What key are we playing Stella in? We're playing it in E. E? I thought it was in B flat. No, E is the first chord. Oh, you mean E minor 7, flat 5 is the first chord. Excuse me. Oh, okay, we're in the right key. It's in B flat. That's where it winds up. Let's look at that last sequence again. Goes perfectly around the circle. There it is. So some brilliant composing here and some use of some very uncanny notes. And of course, this gives us lots room for ideas, and this is mostly played as a ballad, and rightly so, because there's so much, as I like to say, meat on the bones. We don't want to fly through it. We want to savor every morsel, every flat 5, every sharp 11, every 13th that comes through here. And that's what we try and do here when we learn this. As a piano player, it's got its own challenges here. Playing by ourselves, we got to play open position. The first chord, I play strictly as an octave. Because if I played the flat 5, it would sound like I made a mistake. And I can't play the 3rd. Can't play the 7th, so I just play an octave. Oh, chromatic dominant. Settles back down to B flat. It's an emotional song to play, and you have all kinds of ways of playing it. I did a concert once where after I played my intro, I made up a nice little way to do the head, nice intro that started up here. I can't remember what it was, something like that, and then it finally settles into the melody. But I did a kind of a single note left hand, which is an interesting way to challenge yourself. It was a solo concert, so. Get the idea. Add some octaves. It's a nice way to challenge yourself. Like I said, you're not quite doing the walking left-hand bass, but you're hitting all those chords and you get your foundational note in, and then you start working your ideas with the right hand. And it's a fun way to do it. Like I said, for solo purposes. If you do this at home and you like what you're doing, put on a recording device. Record it so you know what you were doing with this. There's one more way I used to play this, and it's something I don't sit into bands a lot. It's something I don't really do, but occasionally I've traveled and I was asked to play or even set up to play with some of the local musicians, the jazz musicians, and everybody knows Stella. So instead of just banging it out like everybody else does, I learned a kind of a Brazilian samba version. And it's something that I can even, I've done this time and time again. I just throw out the riff and tell them it's going to be like a bossa nova sounding song, and the guys just pick it up like this. Works every time. The first chord is a G minor 7 chord. But when you add it to B flat, it sounds like a B flat 6 chord. There it is. So I start this riff. And it's a Hemiola style riff. If you don't know that, look it up. idea. And then you just tag that 2 or 3 more times and make sure everyone lands on the same beat. And you've got, maybe I could call that instant Stella. Just add water and a little Latin seasoning. That's all for us today from Lessons in Jazz. I'm Lee James. Look for new episodes to come about, and subscribe to our channel and check us out on Facebook every now and then. And remember, keep practicing.